You never truly understand the meaning of the word absence until it enters your house like a living thing, until you sit in a room and feel the shape of someone who is no longer there. The evening Amaka disappeared, nothing in the air warned us. No strange wind, no omen, no quarrel. She simply stood up from the wooden chair outside, dusted her wrapper, and said the most ordinary sentence a person can say, "I'm just going for a short walk. I'll be back." Those words have replayed in my head so many times they no longer sound human, more like a recording left behind by a ghost. It was 5:42 p.m. I remember because the church bell had just finished ringing for evening prayers. Our village is small, too small for someone to walk and then vanish between one street and the next. You can cross it end to end in under 15 minutes. You can hear your name called from 3 compounds away. There are no corners here deep enough to swallow a person, and yet Amaka did not return. At first, no one reacted. People go for walks. People visit neighbors. People stay back to gist. It was only when the sky dimmed into that blue gray before darkness, that hour when insects change shift and the air loses its warmth, that something in my chest tightened. I checked the backyard. I checked the front path. I called her name once, then again, louder. Nothing. By 7 p.m., unease had turned into a quiet sickness under my ribs. I walked the road towards the stream, past a row of mango trees and the narrow footpath, where children usually play. There was no sign of her. What was strange was not that she wasn't where I expected. It was that the village felt wrong, too silent, as though the trees themselves were listening. On my way back, I met Mama sitting on the veranda, wringing her hands without realizing it. She didn't ask if I'd seen Amaka. She already knew the answer from my face. In villages like ours, dread travels faster than words. She will come, Mama said, but her voice cracked on the last word. We waited until 8 p.m., then 9, then 10. People began to gather, not because we called them, but because missing people are like fire. Darkness always draws a crowd. Neighbors brought lanterns. Men spread out with sticks and torches. Someone toward the farm road, others toward the river path, others into the edges of the forest. The night swallowed them in their light. Hours passed. No sound, no sight, no trace. And then, around midnight, something happened that none of us spoke about the next morning. Not because we forgot, but because speaking aloud would make it too real. From somewhere in the trees, deep but not too deep, a woman's voice cried out once. Short, sharp, cut off midway. Not enough to know if it was hers. Enough to freeze every torchlight in the air. No one moved. No one breathed. Then the sound ended, like something pressed a hand over her mouth, or dragged her away mid-cry. Someone beside me whispered, "Don't go in there at night." No one argued. We all stared into darkness, and the darkness stared back. That was the moment I knew. Amaka was not just missing. Something had taken her. Morning did not bring relief, only clarity. By dawn, the news had spread to every corner of the village. You could feel in the way people walked. Slower, quieter, as though every step might wake something watching. Women stopped their grinding stones mid-stroke when our gate creaked. Children were kept indoors. Doors stayed half closed, as if fear itself was wind. Men returned from the night search with the same answer. Nothing. No cloth. No footprint. No sound. No path broken. It was as if she had walked off the earth. By midday, people began to give explanations, not helpful ones. Just the kind fear produces when truth is absent. Maybe she followed somebody. Maybe she fainted and fell somewhere. Maybe she went to meet a man in secret. But even the people saying those words did not believe themselves. Their eyes were saying something else entirely. This is not ordinary. By evening, the elders met. When elders gather in silence, you know the matter has left the road of the living. Mama sat inside, rocking in one place like someone whose bones were melting. She kept murmuring the same line, not to us, but to whatever could hear. Return my child, return my child, return my child. Her voice cracked until the words sounded like they were bleeding. Then something unexpected happened. Something that shifted the entire search from physical to spiritual. Around 6 p.m., the men who went toward the river the previous night returned with strange report. Halfway down the river path, their lantern flames flickered and died. Not all at once, not like wind, one by one, as though something passed among them, snuffing them out deliberately. One man swore he heard breathing, not animal breathing, close breathing, as if someone stood directly behind his ear. Another said that when he turned back, he saw what looked like a white cloth moving between the trees, then disappearing as if the trees shut behind it. They ran. They did not go back. That evening the fear became official. No one said kidnapping. No one said human being. The village began to speak in careful language. Words that do not attract attention from whatever listens in the dark. They have taken her. Not someone they. No one asked who they was. Everyone already knew the kind of they that does not have a face you can arrest. People began to advise my mother as though the case had already moved beyond police or search. Don't stay in the house tonight. Tie white cloth at the doorway. Don't call her name after dark. If they hear you, they will not return her. That last one lodged in my spine. Don't call her name, because in this place, once a person is crossed into the hands of the unseen, even your voice can seal their fate. That night, the house was too quiet. Grief has a sound. It hums like an insect in the walls. Sleep did not come. My ears kept replaying that single cut-off cry from the forest. At around 2 a.m., when the lantern burned low and Mama finally dozed, I heard something soft, faint, but unmistakable outside the window. Footsteps, slow, one at a time, unhurried, as though whoever, or whatever, was walking knew we were listening. They stopped directly in front of our window, not walking, not leaving, listening back. My throat closed. My heart knocked so hard my ribs felt brittle. I did not move. For a long, long moment, nothing happened. Then, very quietly, a woman's voice whispered something I could not fully hear. Not a cry for help, not a scream. A whisper, like someone repeating instructions from somewhere else. And then the footsteps turned and walked away toward the direction of the forest. I did not wake Mama, because I knew with a cold certainty that whatever I heard was not Amaka walking home. It was something returning to the place that took her. By morning, the village atmosphere had shifted from fear to decision. The elders announced that a search of the forest would be done again, but not by ordinary villagers. They sent word for a man known as Okri, an old hunter who had once tracked missing persons before the police ever existed in our lives. People said he could read ground the way others read letters. He arrived before noon. Tall, gaunt, eyes like someone who had seen things and stopped being surprised by them. He didn't greet long, didn't eat, didn't sit. He only asked one question. Where did she step last before she vanished? We led him to the road Amaka took. He walked slowly, scanning the ground with the patience of someone listening to something beneath the soil. Then he stopped at a narrow passage slightly off the main route, a path no one had searched because it dead ends at the river bend. He crouched, studied the earth, stayed silent for nearly a minute. Then he said, "She passed here." Everyone looked at one another like they had heard a prophecy. We followed as he moved down that path. After a short distance, he stopped again. This time not at the ground, but at the trees ahead. Something was wrong with them. The leaves on 3 trees in the shape of a rough curve were wilted, not brown, not old, freshly wilted, as though something had drained them from inside overnight. The pattern formed a kind of threshold, not a natural line. Okri lifted a hand to stop us from going further. He bent and touched the ground inside that curved line. Then his face changed, the first emotion he had shown since arriving. He cleaned his fingers on his cloth and stood up. She walked in, he said, but she did not walk out. No one spoke. He waited another moment, then added, and what carried her from here was not human feet. The men around him shifted back instinctively, as if distance could undo the words. Okri turned to face the elders. If you cross further without right, something else will follow you back. That single statement ended the courage in the air. No one stepped forward. No one volunteered to continue. Instead, the elders made a fast decision. Faster than people usually decide life matters in this village. If Amaka was taken by what is not flesh, that it was no longer a matter of search, but of appeasement. Someone said, "Bring the priest." Someone else said, "Don't anger it. Wait until night passes." Mama dropped to the ground when she heard them speaking of appeasement, begging with both hands raised. "Return my child first. Return her before you begin rites." But the elders did not answer her. They were staring at Okri, waiting for his final word, the word that decides whether a thing is treatable or final. He looked back toward that curved line of wilted trees, then back at us. His voice was calm, too calm. If she is still alive, she is no longer walking on this side. That sentence ended something inside me, not hope, that had already drained the night before, but the belief that time would solve it. Time cannot return what was taken by something outside time. As the sun began to fall again and people withdrew into their houses, something strange happened. The entire village became quiet the way a body becomes quiet after death. Not silence from peace, but silence from surrender. And it was in that heavy, suffocating quiet that a new sound entered, not from the forest this time, not from the path, but from somewhere much closer, from inside the village itself. A single knock, not on our door, on the old shrine door at the center of the square. One knock, then another, then a third. Slow, deliberate, forward, not frantic, like someone or something had come to collect what was owed. The elders froze when the knocking came. No one moves fast when the unseen announces itself. Haste offends things older than law. The shrine door had been sealed for 9 years. Nobody prayed there anymore. Nobody lit candles there. They said the gods were retired, that churches had replaced them. But the knocks did not care. Someone whispered, "Do not answer." Another whispered, "It is not calling you. It is notifying you." Notify. That word chilled me more than the sound. To notify means a decision has already been made. The knock is not a request. It is a declaration. Mama clutched my arm as the air thickened. The third knock still seemed to hang in the space between the trees and roofs. Then silence returned, heavier than before. One of the elders finally said, in a voice barely a breath, "It has taken the first." Nobody asked who it was. Nobody asked what first meant. The sentence stood by itself like a carved stone. Night came fast again, the kind of night that feels like a lid shutting the world. Nobody cooked. Nobody drew water. Nobody walked outside after dark. And in that paralysis of a village waiting for something to finish what it started, a new kind of fear entered me. The fear that we were not searching anymore. We were waiting for news. midnight. I heard voices outside. Low, urgent, male, not panicked but controlled. I stepped out far enough to listen. They were speaking in those coded village sentences that mean danger but never name it. Do not leave light in the open. Do not answer a woman's voice after midnight. If you hear your name, do not turn. That last line froze me. If someone or something calls you in your own voice, there's a law in this place. Do not answer. The one who answers follows the caller. I did not sleep. Around 3 a.m., something happened that will never leave my memory. From far off, not from the forest this time, but from the direction of the main road, we heard footsteps again. Not one person, not many people, just a pair. But what made them different from the ones I had heard the night before was not the rhythm. It was the wetness, like someone walking with water dripping from their body. The steps passed our compound. Slow, so slow they sounded deliberate. I held my breath, and then, right outside our gate, a woman's voice spoke. Soft, calm, as if she were telling someone standing beside her, not calling to us. She should not have walked alone. That sentence was spoken in the tone of a verdict, not regret. The footsteps continued past the house, toward the square, toward the shrine door. A few heartbeats later, the shrine door made a sound no one alive had heard before. The sound of an old wooden lock sliding open from the inside. No scream followed, no chant, nothing. Just a door opening for something unseen to enter or exit. By dawn, word spread that the elders had decided. The shrine would be reopened and rites would begin at dusk. Not to find Amaka, that hope had died in the night, but to prevent a second taking. When I heard that, something inside me hardened like stone. I realized the truth nobody had said aloud. They were not trying to save her. They were trying to contain what took her, so it does not return for another. And the worst part, the part that has not allowed me to breathe the same way since, is this: the footsteps that passed our house, the voice that spoke that sentence, the wet sound of cloth dragging on the ground. It was not unfamiliar. It sounded like someone who had once lived in this house. Someone whose seat is still empty. Someone whose sandals are still by the door. It sounded like Amaka, but not the Amaka who left. A version returning from somewhere she should never have reached. And if that voice truly was hers, then she didn't come back to be saved. She came back as a message, a warning, a first. But the part that still keeps me awake at night isn't what we saw that evening. It's what happened the morning after. Because just before sunrise, when people gather near the forest edge to pray, someone noticed something new on the ground. Not old, not faint, fresh, a clear set of footprints leading out of the forest. But here's the part that made everyone run. 3 steps out of the trees, the footprints stopped. Not faded, not turned back. Stopped, as if the person who made them simply vanished in midair. And the only thing lying beside that last footprint was something that should not exist in this life. Something I wish I never saw. In the next episode, I will tell you exactly what it was, and why the elders of the forest had returned someone that was not meant to return.